Good evening. I'm calling this meeting to order. This is a regular business meeting of the Redmond City Council held on Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026, commencing at 7:01 p.m. I will be chairing this meeting as Mayor Pro Tem. I will start by calling roll with Council Vice President Nueva Camina. Councilmember Forsyth.
Here.
Councilmember Prakriya.
Here.
Councilmember Soni.
Here.
Excuse me, Councilmember Parsi.
Here.
Councilmember Kritzer.
Here.
All council members are in attendance. Thank you so much, everyone. The first item on the agenda is a proclamation for Black History Month. Council Vice President Nueva Camina will read the proclamation. Take it away. Oops, Angie, we don't have your mic. Is there a button near you? I am so sorry. That is my fault.
No worries. Sounded like we were live.
Try again, you should be on.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris. Whereas February is nationally recognized as Black History Month, a time dedicated to honoring the history, culture, and enduring legacy of African Americans whose courage, innovation, and leadership have profoundly influenced the development of the United States. And whereas the study and public recognition of Black history were advanced by historian Carter G. Woodson, who in 1926 launched Negro History Week, that ensured that the stories, scholarship, and lived experiences of Black Americans were acknowledged, preserved, and taught as an essential part of our shared national narrative. And whereas 50 years later, in 1976, Black History Month was formally recognized at national level when President Gerald R. Ford called upon Americans to give due attention to the many achievements of Black Americans that had too often been overlooked or excluded from historical record. And whereas in 2026, Black History Month theme, A Century of Black History Commemorations, reflects on 100 years of organized efforts to uplift Black history, recognize excellence, and expand public understanding of the Black experience through education, culture, advocacy, and community celebration. And whereas African Americans have made lasting contributions in every sector of society, including education, labor, science, technology, the arts, public service, business, medicine, and civic leadership, and their ongoing pursuit of equity and justice continues to strengthen communities such as Redmond. Now, therefore, I, Angela Nueva Camina, on behalf of Angela Burney, Mayor of the City of Redmond, Washington, do hereby proclaim February 2026 as Black History Month, and call upon the residents of Redmond to observe this month by learning, reflecting, and engaging in activities that honor Black history, celebrate Black voices, and reaffirm our community's commitment to inclusion, dignity, and equal opportunity for all. Now, just a few words. In Redmond and across the East Side, Black-led efforts like Community of African American Families East Side, otherwise known as CAFE, Africans on the East Side, and other community and cultural networks are doing the essential work of connection, advocacy, and belonging, often quietly and always with care. According to the most recent census, just over 2% of Redmond's population identifies as Black. But that number needs context. Ours is a city with the majority of renters, disproportionately lower homeownership among Black households, and a long history of Black communities being undercounted in the census. Taken together, it's reasonable to say that the Black community in Redmond is larger than the reported 2%, or roughly 1,700 residents. To the 1,700 plus residents in my community, I want to take a moment to speak directly to you here in Redmond. You are a part of the fabric of this city, our schools, our neighborhoods, our businesses, our civic life. Your contributions, leadership, creativity, and resilience matter, and they make Redmond stronger. Now, at the same time, I also want to acknowledge a truth that we hold together. Belonging doesn't happen automatically. It is built through trust, through listening, and through sustained action. And that's why I'm especially grateful for community-led efforts like CAFE within the Lake Washington School District. CAFE creates space for Black families to connect, to be seen, and to advocate for equity and excellence in education. not just during moments of recognition, but every day. And that work matters. It matters to our students, it matters to our families, and it matters to the future of this community. Now, tonight's proclamation is both a recognition and a responsibility. It's a reminder that celebrating Black history and Black excellence must be matched with our ongoing commitment to equity, inclusion, and opportunity here in Redmond and across our institutions. To our Black residents, families, students, and leaders, thank you for shaping this community, for holding us accountable, and for continuing to build spaces of belonging and possibility.
Thank you, Vice President Nueva Camina. The next item on our agenda tonight is the presentation from Dr. Eric Murray, President of Cascadia College, on the Cascadia State of the College. Welcome, Dr. Murray. We're so excited to have you, and we always love these annual updates.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. And I think somehow magically the PowerPoint will get up on your screens. It's on my screen. I am sharing my screen. It was up there earlier and someone took it down, unless I did something wrong. But let's make sure I'm still in the Teams meeting. I look to be in the Teams meeting, but for some reason, let me see, share that again, share that again.
Share your screen again.
Now I'm resharing. There, yeah, there I am.
Other screen.
There we go. Okay. Hello. Now that the logistics are over, it always feels like I'm coming home when I come to Redmond because for those of you who I don't know very well, I spent 4 years in those chairs as a planning commissioner when I lived in the city of Redmond. I have been the president of Cascadia College for 16 years now. That happens to be the longest serving president of a higher education institution in the entire state of Washington, universities and community colleges. So I'm very happy to still have my job and still be a part of the community. And I see lots of friendly and familiar faces around the room tonight. So thanks for having me. This is the annual State of the College address, and it normally comes in the fall. I happen to be sick, I think, at that point, and so we postponed till today, which means you get a little extra information today than you may not have gotten in the fall. I left our 25th anniversary logo up there. Last year we celebrated 25 years. This is our 26th year now. We're very proud to have been in the community. The main campus is in Bothell, and I hope that you are all aware that we have a presence in Redmond. And thank you for all of your support for making sure that that happens. We are in the Together Center, and this is our third year of having a branch classroom in the Redmond area. So we call Redmond home as much as we call Bothell home. So we'll be talking about successes and challenges. The 6-month financial mark has presented more challenges. Just today we were doing budget reviews, so you'll get to see some inside information. But generally, our enrollment is about 12% up from last fall. This is the third year in a row of double-digit enrollment increases, and that comes in all forms, running start, state domestic students, as well as our English language learners and developmental education students. Interestingly, in the Redmond facility, the number one enrolled class is for English as a second language, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It is just, the classes are full with those particular students. So we are only one of 3 out of the 34 colleges that have seen double-digit enrollment increases for 3 years and this year. So we're doing pretty well. The state evaluates community colleges based on a program called Guided Pathways, which is how we get students through their career with us. And there are 8 metrics, and Cascadia ranks number 1 in 3 of those metrics, and we are in the top 5 in the remaining metrics. So what are we number 1 at? We're number 1 at retention. 98% of our students stayed with us from fall into winter. 90% of our students stay with us from fall to fall. The national average is about 50%. So we're doing pretty good at keeping students enrolled and moving towards our educational goal. We're also the number 1 transfer institution. We send more students to the University of Washington than any other community college. We were built for that, and because of our presence with UW Bothell, that goes hand in hand with our mission. And then we're the #1 college that gets students from remedial math into college level math. And so we're pretty proud of that. Other metrics like getting students from lower level English into upper level English, again, we're in the top 5 with those. So our metrics are good. So we asked our students prior to me developing the presentation this year, what do you enjoy most about, actually I'm skipping over to student desired resources. What do you enjoy most about Cascadia? And these were their answers. The Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science that we offer was high on the list. We offer on-campus housing through the University of Washington, Bothell. We are one of a few colleges where you can enroll 2 quarters at a time, so you know what your classes are going to be 2 in a row, and we are trying to move to an all-year enrollment. So at the beginning of the year, you can enroll for 3 quarters and 9 classes. And also that we use a non-artificial intelligence touch to a lot of the things we do. Students are getting fed up with interacting with artificial intelligence, and really appreciate interacting with a human once in a while, which is where we are leaning into. Going back up 1 bullet, my staff, when polled about this, points to the fact that we offer about $70,000 in emergency grants. So for students who in the moment need some assistance, we help there. We have laptops available to check out to any student who might need it. We have our mentoring program for historically marginalized students called Cascadia Scholars, and our food pantry, the Kodiak Cave, is pretty popular, and I guess this is bittersweet. The number of students needing food assistance has tripled this year compared to years past. So we're at least able to meet that need, but it's an unfortunate situation where so many of our students are facing those kinds of insecurities. So when I developed this last fall, the challenges that we were looking to conquer were our quest for our 5th and final building. Just this morning, I got word that it looks like the legislature, we tried to do it last year, and I think you all wrote a letter to help support that effort, and it didn't happen, and it looks like we're going to get there this year. So we'll know more in about a month. The federal landscape is really daunting for us, as I'm sure it might be daunting for you. And it's not in the form of grants, which you might hear University of Washington or someone talking about. For us, it's in the form of international students. It is students now fear coming to the United States, and students can't get student visas, even when their country is green-lighted to do that. We, as of last year, were the top destination for students from Turkmenistan, of all places. We had about 70, and our incoming class was supposed to be 35, and they were put on the orange travel ban list last fall, and so all 35 of those students couldn't come to Cascadia. That cost us over $500,000 in revenue, let alone the opportunity to continue diversifying our campus. So we are still trying to recover from a diminishing international student population, which is hard for us because it's core to our identity to make sure that our students have global experiences and can interact with people from the global community. The dwindling state economy is hitting us hard, and the Speaker of the House, chatting with her, the State House, last Thursday, and she basically said that our state taxation system, built on an economy of the 1930s, is not sufficient for an economy of 2025, and it will never catch up. We will never be able to fund state agencies at the rate which their cost escalations require. And to add to that, our economy, which is based a lot on international trade, is been hit billions of dollars in lack of trade because of tariffs. So I'm not trying to be political, but what I'm trying to say is when the state suffers, so do the community colleges. And so right now I'm facing yet another $500,000 in holdback from the state just this year, which is part of the reason why we're trying to figure out our numbers right now in the middle of the year. Other community colleges are struggling. We are not so much. We have healthy reserves. We can make ends meet. Yes, we've got some struggles that we just discovered today, like we have no vacancy savings. So when someone leaves their job and you have that month between hiring a new person, you save that month's salary. No one this year since September has left their job at Cascadia. And that is the complete opposite of our COVID era, when we turned over 75% of our staff in 2 years, and now we're turning over 0% of our staff. So I'm not saving money from having a vacant position. As well, folks are using the benefits that come with a salary at Cascadia more so than ever before. So we just have some ongoing financial struggles, but we're doing okay. There are about 5 colleges that are struggling to actually even make payroll We are not one of them. So we continue to be healthy and able to serve our East Side community. I wanted to talk a little bit about equity inclusion, which is important to us, and probably if you take anything away from today's presentation, it's the closing gaps comment I'm about to make. 7 years ago, we decided to intentionally create programming that would help narrow the gap between historically marginalized students and white students. White students graduated 10, 15 points higher than students of color. They were retained at higher rates. As of this fall, we have closed those gaps. Our students of color graduate at the same rate as our white students. Thank you. We're one of very few colleges has been able to do that, and they're retained as well. And we love the fact that we are a campus where people feel they belong, and I want to continue that. So part of that is our social justice high school conferences. We invite the high schools to bring their students to us, or they used to be called student of color conferences. They're now social justice conferences. And we also continue to offer our Foundations of Equity and Inclusion course in the packet, or I don't know if you have the packet, but we do offer that course to businesses. This is a particular sustainable contracting company that did it with us and gave us some really nice compliments. So if you happen to have those in your packet, great, but you can skim them really quickly there. And if the city ever is interested in having that kind of education for its employees, we are happy to provide it. So the bottom line is we're facing some headwinds and some challenges, but we appreciate being your community college, and we're doing pretty dang well, all things considered. So thank you. And President Stewart, if there's questions, happy to answer, and if not, I wish you well tonight.
Awesome. We certainly have the time if you're willing, Dr. Murray.
Sure.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for always coming and sharing the great updates that are going on at Cascadia. Council, are there any questions for Dr. Murray? Councilmember Forsyth.
Thank you so much for the presentation and a wealth of mostly good news.
Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic. With the numbers that you told us about students of color graduating at the same rate as white students, what efforts do you think actually helped make that happen?
Probably the most impactful is our mentoring program that we started. Students now, 4 students to 1 faculty member, and that faculty member helps those students get through the year and is a person that you can turn to. We also have a new Equity and Inclusion Center where there's students persist when they feel like they belong and when there are others like them. And so that's the atmosphere that we've created there through our programming, through our diversity center, through our mentoring program. It certainly helps when we are out there. We require intrusive advising, which means every single student has to meet with an advisor before they can register for their next set of classes. We didn't used to do that before. And I think that has really helped our students of color not fear interacting with college administration and working with an advisor and finding a pathway that works for them. So there are a few things like that.
Thank you. That's great. Great news, and thank you for all that hard work.
Wonderful. I saw Councilmember Kritzer.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to present to us. It's always a pleasure to see you, and really feeling proud tonight to have Cascadia as a part of our community, and especially just appreciate the values that you're upholding in terms of the way that you're leading and creating a really equitable and inclusive campus. So really appreciate that, especially given the federal context for higher education. So thank you. One question that I had is, could you tell us a little bit more about how things are going at the Together Center campus?
I would, sure, I can do that. I've also thought a couple of other things I'll throw onto there too. Number one, we love being at the Together Center. We have a permanent staff member there. And one of the difficulties is that we thought high school Running Start students would come to our daytime programming. That's actually not happening. What we've come to realize is that students don't want to just take one class, go away from their high school campus and come back. If they're going to be a Running Start student, they'd rather take the whole program with us, and they'd rather come to the Bothell campus where they have the full campus experience. So our daytime programming is not as robust as we'd like it to be. It's not the first choice. But when we had absolutely 0 seats available for classes last fall, 0. And Redmond was the alternative. Oh, I can't get that English class in Bothell, I guess I'll go take it in Redmond. And so we filled up some of our classes, but it wasn't first choice. We thought we were going to be convenient for students, so that didn't happen. However, you should go over there any night of the week between 6 and 9 p.m. and see our English language learners taking ESL classes and learning. It's just become incredibly popular. And we started out with levels 1, 2, and 3, and now we have requests to add 4, 5, and 6 because students are persisting with us to continue their improving their language skills. So that's great. This reminded me that we're also working with Centro Cultural Mexicano on a grant that we received to survey Hispanic students on their needs, their insecurities, how we can help. And together, Cascadia and the center are going to be partnering to see if we can, now that we've kind of done the research phase, we're going to be moving into the action item phase to see what we can do to continue serving that population. I will say on the Together Center, if you know, it costs us about $100,000 to run this location. And if you happen to know of anybody who is interested in grants or anywhere we can apply to help support the operating costs of that facility, I'd love to have any references or ideas that you might have to continue helping to fund the Redmond Center. Amazon started us at the Redmond Center, and they gave us almost $300,000 for the first 3 years to make sure that we could fly. And now we're on our own, so we're looking to see if we can find someone else who might want to step up for that. I also want to compliment one of you on the council, I won't name who, is the parent of a student who went to the Redmond Center, Cascadia College Classroom. And she's also going to be a featured speaker at a Cascadia event in 3 weeks on campus called Pay It Forward, where we support our students and raise money. So I want to thank that anonymous council member, Vice President Nueva Camina, thank you, for being such a great supporter of Cascadia. And your son.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Murray. Yes, Councilmember Procria was next.
Thank you for the presentation, Dr. Murray. I remember actually being in the audience for a couple of your presentations, so it's a privilege to be up
So
here.
I inspired you to take that chair so you could actually talk to me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. My question was specifically about it was about whether you could speak more to the human-centered approach that you described and the response you've gotten from the students off of that, and if you had any metrics about that approach rather than using AI. You had a wonderful metric about closing the gap in the graduation rates.
It's a really good question. Thank you. And sometimes I feel like I'm in an interview because I have to think of the answer right on the spot. But I have two thoughts towards it. We do a belongingness survey each year. And one of the questions it asks is, how safe do you feel? How comfortable do you feel as and especially how you identify. Do you feel like you can be yourself on our campus? And we rate really high, among the highest. So we know our students are experiencing it. They're not just graduating well, but they're experiencing the belonging that we hope to create. And I guess the one humanistic approach that I'll talk about is I take every new employee, I bring them to my office and we have coffee together. And within the first few months of them starting at Cascadia, and I talk to them about the values I have in leading the college. And one of those values, being a part of the LGBTQ community, I grew up not being accepted where I wanted to be. And I don't ever want to see another student feel a lack of acceptance for who they are, where they are. And so I talk to every single one of my employees about recreating that for our students and for each other. And I had a new employee last week say, I just realized that this is the perfect place for me to work because of what you just said. So I try to instill in our employees this value of students first for who they are, and that we try to help them succeed. And I hope that's one example of how we try to really push the human side of what we do.
Thank you so much. If you're still willing, we have a couple eager hands still.
I'm just worried about taking up too much of your time.
Okay, well, a couple folks want to jump in. So Council Vice President Nueva Camina.
Thank you, Dr. Murray. Thank you for your 16 years of being of service to our community, to throughout north of the lake as well as throughout the east side. I know that we've been kind of uplifting conversations. Unfortunately, I might ask a harder question. We are year one into administration where there's concern and fear around coming to the United States as an international student. After year one, this is where we're at. And I know that you just started looking at these numbers very, very recently. If we are to continue on the trajectory, if you were to look out, say, 5 years from now, and knowing that we don't have a crystal ball, but in 5 years, what would you expect to happen to the state of Cascadia? And you've done a phenomenal job building up the reserves and making very fiscally sound decisions to put Cascadia in this position. But if we go out 5 years, what do you see?
Thanks for the hardball question. I think there are some of my colleagues who don't see their college existing in 5 years. I don't foresee that for Cascadia. In fact, my hope is to retire in about 5 years, so I got to make it at least to 5 years. But in addition to taking new employees to coffee, every 7 or so years, I take all of the full-time faculty to coffee to re-hear what they think we've accomplished and where they want to go in the next 7 years. So I just finished all of our full-time tenured faculty having coffee over the last 6 months. And the third time I've done it in my career there, and I listen to what they want to do, where we want to be in 7 years. And I believe that fiscally we can hold it together as long as our enrollment stays strong. I believe that the state will continue to diminish our resources. I recently, and I mean yesterday, asked our state board to talk about the sustainability of 34 colleges and if that's realistic or not. And I don't think it is. But I'm hopefully not sacrificing Cascadia because we have the best outcome numbers of any of the colleges. And we are very mission specific and we're succeeding. So I believe, however, not only will the state economy be our biggest challenge, the federal atmosphere, not only for our international students, but for our domestic students who are undocumented, for any person of color who comes to us, fears the environment. And so I am proposing actually to my team tomorrow, I think we need to have an administrator on duty every night because most of our ESL classes are taught at night and those faculty are there by themselves in a big gigantic building with no resource. I am trained on how to deal with immigration if they show up. And we need to start preparing ourselves for those kinds of events in order if we're gonna help do the best we can to help our students learn safely. So I think it's gonna be a challenge, but I very much believe in the adaptive leadership concept, and we are trying to adapt to this ever-changing world, and I just have a really great campus full of employees who will adapt with me to do whatever we can to help make it a safe place. So I can't fully predict. I think we're gonna be here. I think we're gonna be fine, but I am certainly disappointed by the state of affairs.
Thank you, Dr. Murray, for sharing your perspective, your leadership, and your thoughtfulness. And congratulations on all the success that your campus is having, including here in Redmond. We appreciate you.
Yep. I hope I see you all in 3 weeks. You should have gotten your invitation from me already to come. So if you can, we look forward to seeing you there. Have a great night. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, the next item on the agenda is items from the audience. I have the sign-in sheet for members of the public to speak. When I read your name, you can come up to the podium and have 3 minutes to address the council. Council members will generally not respond to comments or questions directly at the meeting, and you're always welcome to reach out to the council anytime at mayorcouncil.gov. The views stated by members of the public do not represent the opinions of the City of Redmond. And as a brief reminder, because we do have ballots out at the moment for a special election, RCW 29B.45.010 prohibits any public comment during council meetings in support or opposition of ballot propositions, measures, and candidates. And all your comments tonight must pertain to City of Redmond business as indicated on the sign-in sheet. There are about 14 people signed up to speak tonight and 2 remotely. The first 3 names are Linda Seltzer, Alex Zimmerman, and Maritza. Welcome, Linda.
today we mark Holocaust Remembrance Day. It was last week, but there was no meeting last week. The city of Bellevue did commemorate Holocaust Remembrance Day. Thank you to Council Member Nierenhaus of Bellevue, but Redmond failed to include Jews and mark Holocaust Remembrance Day, but I would like to recount as a resident of Redmond what happened in my family tree in the last year. Yes, the damage was so great that neither I nor my grandfather's family tree in Israel, which isn't very communicative in the United States, never knew what happened to my grandfather's sisters. But suddenly in the spring of 2025, I received a message on MyHeritage from a young woman in Spain who was a descendant of one of the sisters. She lived in Israel previously and had no idea she was related to a family of 80 people there. Such is the damage that the Nazis created until genealogy started reunifying our connections and our relatives who were complete strangers. She sent me a 100-page book written by Efim Krasnostein, the grandson of my grandfather's sister. The German army was much stronger than Stalin's forces and began to capture areas in eastern Ukraine. I was reading this book about 4 families who got together and tried to escape from their small farming town by horses and carriages. They took any possessions and money they could find. The people who robbed my family members who were fleeing. Once the German army occupied the land, the Russian money, all of their money was worthless. They traveled for several days, but were stopped by non-Jewish Ukrainians who had weapons and robbed them of all their possessions. They called them names and killed their horses, so they had to wander on foot. They had to beg for food as they wandered back. Part of the way through this account, some names were mentioned, and I realized that these families are the families of my grandfather's sisters. When they neared their town, a stranger informed them that the Germans had been there. They killed everyone, which meant the other brother and his family tree and many of their in-laws and relatives and neighbors. And they did not bother to bury the bodies. My family tree members were, by complete chance of trying to escape, one of the few people left. The story did not continue after that. Eventually, the Krasnosteins immigrated to Canada. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you for recognizing Holocaust Remembrance Day. The next speaker is Alex Zimmerman.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Alex Zimmerman. You know me very well. I want to speak about something what is half-color black, because it's very important. So, Seattle, Bellevue, Merles Island, Kirkland, Redmond,
Council Vice President Nueva Camina.
The speaker has a sign that refers to
black people.
The speaker has a sign that refers to a campaign.
What?
Mr. Zimmerman, there is no campaigning allowed in our chambers.
I'm no campaign about you talking.
And it is in reference of a city that is not Redmond.
There's no campaign. Mayor Robinson elect last year. What are you talking about? What is campaign you talking? I'm candidate last year in 25.
Mr. Zimmerman, you cannot
reference... It's not campaign. You don't use my time.
Mr. Zimmerman, you cannot use our council chambers to reference...
No, you understand? Mayor Robinson having 25 elected. That's it. It's no campaign.
Mr. Zimmerman, you cannot reference any campaigns in our council chambers.
There's no campaign. Okay, no problem. Yeah, we'll talk later about this. Okay, thank you very much. So
and that is your last warning. Your comments must speak to an item of city business.
Absolutely. I want to speak about
time back to your time.
Yeah, okay, no problem. I want to speak about Black Lives Matter, about Black Months. So this information, what is I delivering right now for the last few weeks everywhere. Seattle, Bellevue, Merles Island, Redmond, Kirkland, and Issaquah don't have black American citizen community. None. Zero. You understand about talking? That's exactly what is I want delivery to you. Because King County is doing this for a long time, for the last few years. Totally. You know what has been? And I talking about this many times for the last few years. This means King County have a #1 Nazi Gestapo fascist junta who control us. No black community in Seattle in all East Side. How is this possible? I am a Jew. I know what does this mean. Okay, stop about this. Second, what is I want to explain to you. I like progressive people. You're very progressive. I love you. Progress is very important. Yeah. 5,000 years ago is money. You know what it means when women control everything. They control this amongst for 1,000 years, 5,000 before Jews and everything, 5,000 years ago. So right now you have similar situation here. Why you
Vice
interrupt
President
me? I spoke very simple point. Why you interrupt me? Huh? Are you so stupid?
Mr. Zimmerman, you need to speak to an item of city
I
business, and
speak
you are aware
about
of the
this.
rules.
I speak because it belongs to you. You, a commission who have only women. I give you reason. For 5,000 years it happened exactly same. Because you're good progressive. You pretend to be progressive. You are.
Mr. Zimmerman, you have been muted. Council, is there a motion to remove Alex Zimmerman from participation in our council meetings and public comment periods for up to 180 days as per our council rules of procedure?
So moved.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any discussion on the motion? Okay, this will be a roll call vote, starting with Council Vice President Nueva Camina.
Aye.
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 Aye. And that motion is adopted unanimously, and the speaker will be informed. Thank you. Maritza, you are next. Welcome. The next three speakers will be Mark Ostrow, Peter, and Davin Jones. Oh, excuse me. I don't do this very often, so I apologize. Okay, 3 minutes on the clock.
Awesome, right. Good evening, council members. My name is Maritza Laureano, and I am here on behalf of Move Redmond, Redmond's nonprofit transportation management association. As advocates for better walking, biking, and transit in Redmond, we thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of the City of Redmond's transportation transportation master plan. Redmond is growing, and that growth brings both opportunity and responsibility. The Transportation Master Plan recognizes that we can't solve tomorrow's challenges with yesterday's infrastructure. This plan takes a smart and resilient approach, one that prioritizes people first, choice, and long-term resilience. We strongly support the plan's emphasis on pedestrian safety. The TMP's focus on pedestrian safety is essential to preventing serious injuries and fatalities. Whether someone is walking to school, biking to work, using a mobility device, everyone deserves to get where they're going with dignity and without fear of injury or death. We also appreciate the plan's commitment to diverse transportation options. Not everyone can or is willing to drive for every trip. By investing in sidewalks, biking networks, and reliable connections to transit, Redmond becomes more accessible to seniors, people with disabilities, youth, and non-drivers. Transportation choice is an equity issue, and this plan reflects that understanding. Finally, I want to acknowledge that this plan reflects thoughtful community input and long-term thinking of both city planners and community members. It aligns transportation investments with land use, economic vitality, and environmental stewardship. We urge you to fully support and implement the Transportation Master Plan, and thank you for letting me speak today.
Thank you. Mark,
Hi,
Peter, and Davin. Yeah, go ahead.
Mayor Pro Tem and council members. My name is Mark Ostrow, and I wanted to be here today because you are about to make history. with the Transportation Management Plan, you're going to legalize shared streets. Senate Bill 5595, known as the Shared Streets Law, was signed by the governor last year. I have the pen right here. And you'll be the first city to enact enabling legislation. As you know, shared streets have a speed limit of 10 miles per hour, and pedestrians have the right of way. These streets are common in Europe and Asia, but Washington was the first state in the nation to legalize them in America. And now Redmond is going to be the first city. Seattle is going to take a little bit longer. They plan to pass their legislation in the spring. So this is a big accomplishment today. But the challenge for you tomorrow is to actually build the first legal shared street in the nation. I'm hopeful that you will produce examples that create safer and more comfortable public spaces for Redmond and serve as a model for other cities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Peter?
So thank you for the opportunity you've given members of Interlake Sporting Association to speak here during January. We appreciate the city's commitment to look at our smart sound mitigation proposal and look forward to the meetings that will take place this month. I'm here tonight to cover our environmental stewardship plan as we see concerns raised by council members in the public record. For example, Council President Stewart asking great questions and former council member Anderson had great questions. Environmental stewardship plan was developed by Richard Petticourt of Virginia. He's a national authority and a consultant to the Federal Environmental Protection Agency. That plan uses best management practices such as managing soil pH and stormwater runoff to ensure lead remains contained. Our standards were validated in August of 2025 when the Washington Department of Ecology conducted an inspection, and it was very rigorous top to bottom of our facility. The result was this 21-page report, which concluded 100% compliance. In fact, the DOE was so impressed with our environmental and safety standards, they asked us to mentor other rangers in the state. We brought several other rangers into the local Puget Sound Range Alliance that Interlake has founded. Interlake Sporting Association operates at the national level of excellence, as you would expect of any business, regardless of industry in the city of Redmond. We take our 76-year history seriously, so we've invested $50,000, I'll say that again, $50,000 with Floyd Snyder, a premier environmental consultancy from Seattle. They're going to model our historical footprint, and this is an iterative process, and we look forward to sharing our findings with the city via Tom Hardy and your other excellent environmental staff. With the guidance of Graves Environmental Law, we're ensuring every step we take follows clear regulatory pathways. Ultimately, the community is best served by a sophisticated shooting sports facility which centralizes and professionally manages environmental impact. We are the primary guardians of the lands that our association occupies, and we care deeply about it. I will be sending out our environmental stewardship plan and the Department of Ecology report to Mayor Council tonight, so you can see the rigor of our environmental management firsthand. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Davin, Wolf, and Aaron.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is David Jones.
My apologies.
That's all right. It's Peter's handwriting. So, I'm a Redmond resident, and I'm also a retired Army officer and a member of the Interlake Sporting Association. Over the last month, you've heard a lot of my fellow club members speak about their positive experiences at the range and their objections to the proposed change to the noise code, which we think would negatively impact our membership while not really doing anything to actually mitigate the noise. And while we've had sound measuring equipment installed, I've also done, just as a common sense check, I've driven around through the neighborhoods, and just casually stopped and listened and tried to assess, what's the actual noise level out there in the community. And out there, at least to my ears, it's not bad at all. And that got me wondering if that some of the concern isn't really about the noise level, but it's the fact that the noise is coming from a shooting range. And it would be entirely natural for people to pay more attention to something if they think that it might be hazardous. So the idea that the noise represents gunfire, I can't help but wonder if that's affecting, some of the folks out there in the community that may be, talking to you or making complaints or anything like that. So for any of our neighbors that might be out there in the audience or listening into this, I'd like to assure you that Interlake is a very safe range. And we're always willing to discuss that in detail. During my 30 years in the Army, I designed, built, and supervised hundreds, probably thousands of ranges and live fire training exercises. And for 2 years, my primary job was at the Army's National Training Center, where I was the subject matter expert responsible for ensuring that all the close combat live fire training was conducted safely in accordance with Army regulations. It was supposed to be a one-year job, but I didn't get fired from it. They made me stay on, so apparently I was doing pretty well at it. That involved some very specialized schooling, and I was the one who had to determine if things were safe to shoot and then manage that execution to mitigate risk. In addition to that, I've accumulated hundreds of hours of formal firearms training from the government and private sectors, and I have a number of instructor certifications. So the point of all that is that I'm not just speculating when I tell you that the operations at Interlake are extremely safe. The rules and procedures are appropriate for the location, and they're rigorously enforced. And anyone that doesn't follow the rules is dismissed from the club very quickly. My sons live in the community. If I thought it was a hazard or unsafe in any way, I'd say so and I'd work to get it changed. Frankly, I feel more at risk walking down Avondale with my dog when I see a driver coming towards me who's got their face down in their phone instead of looking out the windshield. So in conclusion, Interlake is safe, it's well run, and it's an asset to Redmond that's worthy of preservation. Thank you.
Thank you. Wolf Adriatico and Aaron Hamilton.
The Parks Director has stated that staff are actively preserving items from OFH prior to the demolition of the building, including the poster walls. So, having witnessed city management's incompetence in our OFH artifacts before this official decision, I simply ask that they are hereafter handled with great care and secure storage spaces appropriately conditioned for potentially delicate equipment, artwork, etc. That means not mixing artifacts with items heading for the dumpster, not leaving them behind the RSCC stage curtain or a repurposed bathroom therein. Another seemingly obvious reminder that the city frequently forgets: absolutely under no circumstances should the only record of these artifacts be high-fidelity photographs. In conclusion, considering administrators such as the Parks Director have never been in OFH, it is imperative that staff who work there are included in the process of identifying and preserving these artifacts. Since almost all of said staff are now former staff, I advise seeking out these former staff for counsel. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron Hamilton.
To everyone that wants to see flock out of Redmond, the fight still isn't over. The council has only paused the use of them, and they haven't made the decision to actually remove them yet. During my time attending council meetings, I've learned that if the mayor wants something, the council will vote for it. Chief Lowe, who really wants flock, reports to the mayor. Therefore, if he wants it, the mayor will want it, and the council will vote for it. I would love to be proven wrong, but I don't think so. We still need to be loud. With that said, I would like to know how the city is actually auditing the use of the data to make sure they aren't abusing their power or the system. Like, why are 50% of all searches made not associated with a case number? Why would you need to do a search if there was no case providing a reason or probable cause to justify the query? When you start digging into the data spanning the time period Flock has been actively being used, December 10th, 24, and November 3rd, 25, you'll start seeing some flags being raised. For instance, one officer was flagged for possible account sharing. The officer accounts for 35% of all department searches, and the frequency and underlying data metrics doesn't add up. What's up with that? 8 officers were flagged for possible targeted anomaly tracking, a trigger that gets raised when it identifies someone repeatedly searching for the same license plate or text with a high anomaly score, potentially indicating in stalking and harassment patterns. There is 1 officer who has repeatedly searched for the same license plate over a span of 53 days, with 63% of the searches happening out of shift, potentially. Who's tracking this? Who's identifying these problems? Who's looking into these flags? Why am I the one sharing this information with you? Where's the public transparency of how our stolen data is being used? And for finishing up, how differently this council is treating trans people is insane. The amount of leniency that you showed that guy earlier boggles my mind. And this isn't the only time. You've done this multiple times with cis people where you've let them ignore the rules, let them do what they wanted to do, and just kind of give them a warning later. With him, every time he's up here, you don't mute the mic, you don't cut the stream feed, you don't send the cops after him. But for trans people, we get cops surrounding us, we get the stream cut off, we get talked down to. I'm tired of this being treated like different. You treat cis people better up here than you do with any trans person who has made a public comment. And I am getting fed up with it. You guys need to change. This is bullshit.
The next few speakers have all signed up for the same item. So what we've decided to do, staff have actually offered to be here tonight to answer some of the questions. So I'm going to go ahead and invite up Director Carol Helland. I gave you a promotion. Dr. Carol Helland, Director Carol Helland of our Planning and Community Development Department to discuss the short plat, the land that so many questions are here for tonight. And our hope is that this will provide a little bit of context, and then when it's your turn to come up to the mic, if you have outstanding questions, feel free to let us know what those are. Thanks. Director Helland.
Thank you, Council President and council members. Good evening. I'm Carol Helland. I'm the Planning and Community Development Director, and happy to provide some additional context on the Vial Short Plat, which is a property that is located in the Education Hill area on 157th. The property applied for a proposal to subdivide, and so it would be tearing down one existing home, subdividing into 4 lots. That property is larger than most of the lots in the surrounding, and it only has a half street in front of it. So the requirements of the code do provide that it has to provide frontage. That lot was actually, as I noted before, located in Education Hill, and I do recognize a lot of the names on the petitions as people who played baseball with my kiddo when he was younger. So I recognize the families and that I have grown up with and known for many years. And we do not intend to open the road at this time, but we do need to require the project proponent to construct the frontage on his property. That would provide access for 4 lots. We understand that to be 4 lots, and there is some confusion because when applicants submit information, it comes into our portal, and under state law, we're required to call it procedurally complete if it meets all of our submittal guidelines. The project did meet all of the submittal guidelines, but does have some conflicting plan information contained in that material. So, the first round of comments have not gone out on this proposal yet. Some of the things that we're hearing the most from the community are they really going to build 4 homes on this lot? The proposal is for 4 single-family homes. The second thing that we're hearing a lot from the community is what warrants road opening. And I would like to say that the fire chief and some of the fire staff have been out to the property and observed the emergency access at that location and the regulations associated with fire and emergency access to locations require 2 points of entry when there are more than 100 dwelling units. So the road trigger for reopening would be when there was more than 100 units on either the north side of the closure or the south side of the closure. And just for context, right now, there's 40-plus homes, for instance, 47, I think, north of the closure. And so, for instance, if every single one of them built an accessory dwelling unit in their backyard, they still would not trigger the need to open that road. And there are only about 23 homes located south of the closure. So I think the other thing was tree removal. They are complying. They've removed some trees. They are complying. There's 20-plus trees that will be replanted as part of the development. One of these things is consistent with our middle housing, adding density where locations have the appropriate infrastructure. And we do have to balance tree management with achieving density in these neighborhoods. So it does mean sometimes that we manage them instead of absolutely protect them. And in this case, replacement is the best option. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you think I've left anything out. Other than that, I will actually put some of my business cards up on the platform up here if anybody wants to grab one of those on their way out. And then there can always be communications with our planner, and the sign actually in front of the property has all of our contact information.
Thank you so much, Director Helen. Let me quickly check if there are any clarifying questions from the council before we invite up members of the public. Okay, thank you so much, Director Helen. We really appreciate it. Okay, so for those who came to chat with us about this item, let us know what questions are remaining or if this was useful. The next few testifiers are Deborah, Katie, and Yang. Welcome.
Thank you, Carol. That was helpful, and I know that not only myself but the other residents on 157th appreciate you being here tonight to answer some of those clarifying questions. Council members and the rest of you, my name is Deborah Vole, and I am a resident of 157th Avenue Northeast, and I have lived on this street for over 30 years, and I'm here tonight to talk about the project on the table. Tonight has been helpful, and as of today, the city has also provided some additional clarification regarding the project. However, I'm here tonight to reiterate that our concerns remain, particularly regarding long-term implications of street connectivity and the need for full transparency and accountability as this process continues to move forward. While we understand that the fire department access threshold has not yet been triggered, the concern for residents is not just what happens today, but what happens incrementally over time. Once development patterns and infrastructure decisions like street connectivity are set, they are extremely difficult, if not impossible, to reverse. That is why this matters so deeply. I don't know if you have been to our area on Education Hill, but converting 157th Avenue Northeast into potentially a future through street would fundamentally change the character and safety of our neighborhood. People would be accessing as a shortcut from SR 202, allowing drivers to bypass the signal at 109th Street. As a daily walker on Education Hill, I already experience heavy traffic, limited crosswalks, and frequent disregard for pedestrian safety. Any future action that enables cut-through traffic will only magnify those risks. I also want to speak this evening to trust. While we appreciate Carol being here tonight and the council's availability for us to speak, the residents are continuing to do our due diligence on this project. We are reading plans, we're asking questions, we're attending meetings and engaging in good faith. We need in return is confidence that the council and the city of Redmond will make their decisions on the behalf of the current residents who live on this street and the taxpayers. Information shared with the public is complete and consistent and timely. and cumulative impacts, not just individual project thresholds, are being considered. As of today, it's clear that it's up to the residents of 157th to go to the City of Redmond site and access the link.
And in conclusion?
Thank you. We're asking that the city be more proactive in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Katie, Yang, and Stephanie. Welcome.
Hi, Council. Thank you, Carol. It was very helpful having her be here. I just wanted to say thanks to Guillermo Mata, I think is how you pronounce his name as well. He's been answering our emails as we have gathered as a community against this plan. And I do want to say that we are not opposed to growth. I understand the need for more housing. I understand the need to get more housing within a city structure where there's already infrastructure. I have been in my home, which is directly below this development, this proposed development. I've been there for 20 years. I get all the runoff from the hill pooling under my house. I've had to install a sump pump to get the water out. I'm very impacted. I'm very vested along with the rest of our neighbors. We have approximately 60 of us who have had neighborhood meetings, who have signed petitions, and who are very, very concerned, particularly about the through street, but also because what I have here shows 16 homes, not 4. And this is what we were going on. This is what we pulled from your site. We are not city planners or land use attorneys. We are just going and searching as parents and community members and business owners. We pulled this down from your site less than a month ago, 16 homes. It also said the street was being opened up for traffic, and those people will come from 202, as Deb mentioned. That will be, it's a residential street, it's a hill, and it will not be able to absorb that amount of traffic. So we're very concerned about that as well. But this kind of goes to the fact that there hasn't been transparency. We're getting different answers depending on whether we pull something from the site, whether we get an answer from Jody, whether Guillermo answers us or not. Every time we've gotten some more information on this, the answers are different. Now, maybe this project has gone from 4 to 16 back to 8. We don't know. Maybe it's going to change again. We don't know. We want somebody telling us what the plans are, and we don't want to have to go to the site to pull down links every other day. We have full-time jobs. I own 2 businesses. I've got a family. My son is a product of Redmond High School. I was the Redmond West Little League on the board of directors. And so was Bill Hargan. He was our president. We are deeply, deeply entrenched community members.
And in conclusion?
One very small last point I wanted to make was accuracy in the plan that Mukul
And in
submitted.
conclusion, just one more comment.
He said it's not a hill and it's a flat lot. That's not true.
Thank you.
It's a hill. Thank you.
Okay, Yang, Stephanie, and Zane. Welcome.
Hello, good evening, council members. I'm a homeowner on Education Hill, like many present today, near 157th Avenue Northeast. I also shared some of the same concerns about the via plat plans, and I appreciate the recent update from Carol on the fact that the street plans remain closed through traffic, as well as that it's actually a plan for 4 single-family homes instead of a mid-density unit. So I think Carol's already aware the application materials describe very different projects, like some pieces of paperwork describe 4 lots, others describe duplexes and triplexes, and the traffic study was actually for 4 single-family homes. So that doesn't jive with the 16 to 24 units that was in one of the applications. I think a lot of people have spent a lot of hours as a result of these inconsistencies and discrepancies, and so asking the applicant to do more due diligence before submitting the paperwork and making all the public notices would probably be helpful to avoid all the extra angst over this. Just thank you for the consideration, and I'm glad you're listening to community feedback.
Thank you. Stephanie and Zane, and then David Morton is our last speaker in person today. Hi, Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for meeting with us and listening to our concerns. My name is Stephanie Holt. Like those before me, I'm also a resident speaking on the project, and it was very helpful to hear all that new information because there has been so many inconsistencies to if there's 4 single-family homes, if there's 16 to 24 units, which obviously is a huge difference to such a small neighborhood that is closed off with all single-family homes. 16 to 24 units would be a huge increase and dramatically change the neighborhood. And like the comments before me, my daughters are 4 and 6, and we plan to be in the home for, hopefully 10 plus years, and it's a slippery slope as far as if there's a through street. We live at the very bottom of the hill, and at the top of the hill, there's blind spots, and cars already come zooming over the hill. There's no stop signs, there's no speed bumps, and my daughters and I walk to school, we ride bikes, we have scooters. So if we do have a street that connects it, even if it's just for emergencies, if there's any way to put a stop sign, a speed bump, or anything like that, because I'm just afraid for my kids and everyone else's kids of the cars that just come speeding over there. And just to kind of give some thought to all of us who live there and the people who use those streets every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Zane, and then David Morton. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Hey, council members, thank you for listening. Thank you for all the additional information, Carol. I won't bring up and repeat a lot of the points brought up earlier. I think a lot of my concerns stemmed around the increase in the lots that were being provided, the change in the character of our neighborhood, and a lot of the safety concerns that we have. I think the big point and the big ask, similar to what Yang had mentioned, was really around the transparency and the trustworthiness of the documents that are being listed publicly, and just making sure that there can be a source of truth that we can look at and really have consistent representation of what's actually going to happen. We'd rather not have to come here and have to listen and understand every council meeting, and so having a single source of truth would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. And David Morton.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm David Morton. I want to talk about PFAS detections in Redmond's drinking water, the consultant agreement concerning PFAS treatment for wells 1 and 2, and the Evans Creek relocation project. First, regarding the Hazen and Sawyer consultant agreement, I appreciate staff's proactive approach to addressing PFAS contamination in wells 1 and 2. The scope includes bench scale testing, technology evaluation, and conceptual design. But this feasibility study won't be complete until December 2026, with final design and construction still years away. Given the 2029 EPA compliance deadline, time is tight. The scope evaluates multiple technologies: granular activated carbon, ion exchange, novel adsorbents, and reverse osmosis. I urge staff to thoroughly assess life cycle costs and residuals disposal challenges for each option. The studies might also address whether operational changes could reduce Redmond's reliance on wells 1 and 2 as an interim or permanent solution. Second, the Evans Creek relocation project raises critical concerns about potential PFAS contamination sources. A portion of the creek relocation project site is on the all-wood recycling property. now called DTG Recycle, located in Redmond's critical aquifer recharge area, or CARA. In August 2013, a 3-day fire at Allwood Recycling brought responses from multiple fire departments. Is it possible that firefighting foam containing PFAS was used to help extinguish that blaze? Evans Creek currently runs through the Allwood recycling site, which is listed by Department of Ecology as an MTCA contaminated cleanup site, awaiting cleanup. A review of the ecology cleanup site records shows that soil samples from the Evans Creek relocation project area were analyzed in 2022, but the soil samples were not tested for PFAS. This is a significant oversight given the current PFAS contamination of Redmond's aquifer. DTG Recycle is located in Redmond's CARA 1, where it takes less than 5 years for groundwater contamination to reach a Redmond municipal supply well. I asked the city to test the DTG site for PFAS contamination before proceeding with creek relocation. It must be known if PFAS are present before disturbing the soil, because identifying and cleaning up contamination sources can help prevent ongoing pollution of Redmond's drinking water. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 additional speakers who have signed up to testify remotely. While the clerk dials the first number for Mr. Joe Kunstler, I'll just offer to the listening public that if you'd like to learn more about the current status of the PFAS work, you can visit redmond.gov/PFAS. redmond.gov/PFAS. Thank you.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Kunstler. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you, Preston Stewart. You did awesome tonight. I really appreciate you throwing out Alex Zimmerman like a boss or a Kritzer, up to you. I want you to know today that I also gave Zimmerman a piece of my mind, and the council as well. We don't need a Nazi salute, thank you. And we don't need a Redmond City Council called human garbage. Thank you. I'm done. I just wanted you to know that somebody was sticking up for you, because those kind of words, those kind of rhetoric you've been subjected to, it doesn't impact just you. It impacts the people who care about you, who watch you, who are inspired by you, and want to take what you do to our communities, whether it's Skagit in my case or another community in the greatest state in the union. And it's greatly appreciated how this council came together to deal with that challenge in the Commons. Never again means never again, and we are the means. But I want to spend some of this time really reminding you that you are special, that there are reasons why. I'll tell, when I see the 545 or the 542 and I'm getting on board the sneak pass, one of you, it's like, I got to tell the bus driver, I love Redmond. And you know why? Because in Redmond, it's a hate-free zone. In Redmond, you have a city council that works. In Redmond, you have sexy light rail. In Redmond, you have a world-class senior center. In Redmond, you have a residents-only office hours by council members. In Redmond, you have a commitment to democracy and the environment. And sadly, a lot of communities don't have that yet. And it's up to guys like I to make that happen. And I hope all of you have some inner peace tonight and have a great year. You've certainly done your bit, and I want to give you back some of your time and thank you for your public service and for being the light upon the world. Thank you.
The next speaker is Max Rollman. Hi, Max.
Hello?
This is the Redmond City Council. Hi, Max. You have 3 minutes to chat with the council.
Excellent. Good evening. Super short today. At the last study session, there was mention of the firehouse and the demolition, but there was no word on the design process. So I have a couple of questions. When will we hear about the plan for the design process? Who will be in charge of this design process? Yeah, when we sent the mayor and council an email, we got a reply that our feedback, experiences, and recommendations have been shared with the appropriate staff and departments for consideration during the discussion. Who are these appropriate staff and departments? Will the staff and departments involved incorporate us, the OFH teams and alumni, in the design and construction process? And finally, why is the demolition coming before the design process? This is another question of, the order of operations that has been an issue throughout this whole fiasco. So I will email these questions to the mayor and council tonight. And if there's any additional information, I would really appreciate that. So thanks, and you guys have a good night.
Thank you. And with that, items from the audience is now closed. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any items to be pulled from the consent agenda? Oh, Councilmember Kritzer?
I don't have an item to pull, but I do want to speak to an item.
Absolutely. Since we are all in attendance, this will be a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the consent agenda passes unanimously. We do have some exciting things. I will read a couple of things into the record and then begin with Councilmember Kritzer. I will first read resolution number 1620, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Redmond, Washington, authorizing a duly appointed administering agency for a regional coalition for housing to execute all documents necessary to enter into agreements for the funding of affordable housing projects as recommended by the Arch Executive Board, utilizing funds from the city's Housing Trust Fund. Resolution 1621, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Redmond, Washington, approving revisions to the House Key Plus Arch East King County Down Payment Assistance Program, authorizing execution of related agreements and ratifying prior actions taken in support of said program, all as recommended by the Arch Executive Board. Resolution number 1622, a resolution of the City of Council of the City of Redmond, Washington, authorizing the City of Bellevue to administer certain housing project agreements on behalf of the City of Redmond, consistent with the amended and restated interlocal agreement for a regional coalition for housing. And after a couple of years of amazing hard work, ordinance number 3249. Yes, there's a drum roll at the dais. I'm here for it. An ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending the Redmond 2050 Comprehensive Plan by repealing the 2013 Transportation Master Plan, adopting the 2026 Transportation Master Plan, amending the transportation element and capital facilities elements, providing for severability and establishing effective date. Councilmember Kritzer, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you. Well, you gave that a lot of good pomp and circumstance. And I just wanted to note that we have some really big things on here. Namely, one of the biggest is the Transportation Master Plan. Want to just give a huge thanks to our incredible staff for the work on this, to our Planning Commission, to our Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee, to everyone in the community who weighed in on this plan. We had so much input at our study session on this. And if anyone is watching us take this vote tonight, we did also go deep dive discussion on this plan the other week, and we went deep dive on this in discussion chapter by chapter over more than a year, and so it's really wonderful to see all this come together. We heard from some commenters tonight, but this is a big, ambitious plan that takes our Vision Zero goals and puts them into action, and really sets us on the path towards the future as a low-carbon, safe-to-get-around city through multi-modes of transportation. So just really excited about this in terms of making Redmond into the place that we all want to live and get around. I also want to note that I'm really excited to vote for the Arch investments tonight, and specifically to call out that this year we're going to be investing in the YWCA Family Village housing that we have here and making sure that that can continue to serve our community and those of some of the lowest incomes in our community. And really look forward to investing in more, and glad that we can also support a regional approach to make sure there's housing for people of all incomes across our region. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And an additional remark on the ARCH contributions and the work that is represented in tonight's vote on the consent agenda is reforms to lower the barriers to home ownership across East King County, which is something our council and our community continue to be very supportive of. So thank you so much, everyone. We have no hearings or staff reports tonight, so the next item of business is the Ombud report. Finishing out the month of January is Councilmember Kritzer.
Thank you. It has been a busy month, so been responding to a lot of different resident emails. We've gotten several questions about the flock cameras, and I will note that the council is continuing to look into the issues around the contract, and the flock cameras remain off and are not collecting data. We've gotten some concerns about ICE, and our council at the meeting last week discussed moving forward with both a resolution and statement and some other actions on top of the actions we've already taken to be able to support our community during these challenging times. And I'll be following up with residents who are asking about that to provide more information. And hopefully our ombuds this month will as well. We actually were also reached out to by a council member in Woodinville to share with us about some actions they've been doing to support their communities, immigrant communities, as well as constitutional rights of residents there, and to encourage us to work regionally to address this. So we're able to reach back out and take a look at their legislation. And kudos to that city council for taking a look at that and thinking of how we as leaders can work together. Really appreciate that. We also received quite a few messages in support of us deepening our work on tenant protections and renters' rights, and encouraging us at our council retreat to discuss it. We didn't actually get to all the policy discussions at our retreat, but we're going to have a retreat part 2 where we'll be discussing more, and we'll also be following up. We still have a council subcommittee on that topic, so I let some of those folks know. One thing that I will call out that I did share with folks who wrote to me about that is an ask that we make the information clear about renters' rights in Redmond. As many of you may know, we, 3 years ago, passed into the Redmond Municipal Code a tenant protection section. And actually just this last fall, we passed new legislation that ensures that in all buildings that those rights should be posted in a publicly available area so that all residents who are tenants can know their rights. So that is actually already in now our Redmond code. And so I'll be following up more on that. We also got some comments on the discussion we had at study session on outcome maps and metrics, and I followed up with that resident, and we also brought up some of those ideas during the study session. We received a request from someone from the Boy Scouts who wants to come and visit our meeting, and I gave some helpful tips on there. We received several questions about the 157th street situation, which we heard about tonight, and I worked with Director Helland to make sure that we got some great answers back to those residents, and appreciate people coming out on that. We also received some questions and comments about PFAS and some of the discussions we've been having on that. And we had a really good discussion about it also today at our committee meeting. So if anyone's following that, you can listen in on some of the discussion of some of the actions we're taking. And as Council President Stewart shared, there is some information on the city website at redmond.gov/PFAS. We also received a letter that was supportive of the council using state-approved tax increase ability for public safety revenue generation. And we also received some comments on updating the council rules of procedure, and we will be discussing that topic in the upcoming week at our committee meeting. We also received an email from one of the commenters also who spoke tonight about the old Firehouse Teen Center and about the process for design. I'll also make sure to follow up, although I know the mayor's office did, but it sounded like maybe we want a little bit more detail there. And we also received a message from a local organization inviting us to to a Lunar New Year celebration, and hopefully our city can share some of that information as well. We also received some questions about our new Recology service, and we had staff follow up on some questions there since we are all adjusting to that. We also received a concern about discrimination in recruiting and followed up on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Forsyth.
Thank you. It is early days in February, so reporting out on a youth community member who reached out about some legislation ideas they wanted to share with council about road safety. I was able to share back with that person that we have our Safer Streets for All action plan and welcomed them to come and speak at items from the audience at any future meeting. Personally, I also wanted to report out on conversations on tenant protections, ICE in our city, drones in our city, and I had a meeting with some folks from One Redmond about the poker pup crawl that happened this weekend, which was a way to get some tourism activity for pet owners. So that looked like it was going to be a fun time, and always have a great time connecting with the folks that do our tourism engagement and brainstorming new ideas and ways to get folks involved in our community. Everything else I will save for committee. Oh, I will also share that 6 of us were able to go to City Action Days in Olympia. Unfortunately, our newest council member was not able to join us because registration had already closed, but we had a very productive time in Olympia representing our community and representing our legislative agenda with our legislators.
Thank you, and thanks for mentioning how much fun it was at City Action Days. I can't believe that was only 2 weeks ago. Who would like to go next? Any other ombuds items? Council Vice President Nueva Camina.
Thank you. Well, in addition to, because it has definitely been a busy couple of weeks since the last that we've been up here, in addition to AWC, Associated Washington Cities, and preparing alongside Council President Stewart for the council retreat, I also attended the Football for All speaker series that is hosted by the City of Redmond from Talk Sporty with Me speaker series, Jen Mueller. The next one that is coming up, just for the listening public, is going to be on February 11th, and that is going to be on sports photography, so you can check that out at the city's website. After the council retreat, typically as a council, some of us will attend a grand opening. There was a new business, and because it was happening, the grand opening was happening during our council retreat, not a single council member was able to attend. So after the retreat, because this business is literally my neighbor, is right across the street from my apartment, I did swing by, let them know why none of us were in attendance, and welcomed them to the neighborhood. And one last thing is in the time, and I started meeting with our department heads. It's my annual protocol, meeting with all the department heads, just touching base. So I will be continuing to meet with them as the months continue. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw Councilmember Parsi first.
I received feedback from the community to make our hiring forms more inclusive in terms of gender and ethnicity. I communicated that feedback with Director Laird. I wanted to give them a kudos for updating the form. So if you go on the website to apply for any jobs, you should see additional options. If you have any additional feedback, let us know.
Thank you. Councilmember Prakriya.
Thank you. Real quick, I had conversations about our lights at Grasslawn Park. I also attended the King County Affordable Housing Symposium with a few of my fellow council members, as well as the council retreat. And Councilmember Soni and I, as I discussed in an earlier study session, attended the 77th National Republic Day of India celebration hosted by the Consulate General.
Thank you. Councilmember Soni?
Apart from all the meetings that has been mentioned by my fellow council members related to retreat, King County Affordable Housing Symposium, which I attended with Council President Melissa, Stewart and Council Member Prakriya. I also attended the East Rail Advisory meeting and also an introductory meeting with our Congresswoman Susan Delveny. I also attended, along with Council Member Prakriya, the 77th Republic Day of India, which was hosted by CGI along with other elected officials. I also met with the Washington Low Income Housing Alliance to hear proposals for dignity and stability for Redmond's renters that we have been discussing and will be addressed. So that's from me.
Thank you so much. And since you mentioned the Housing Affordability Symposium, I will also say that Councilmember Forsyth was a panelist at that event. So thank you so much, everyone. It has been a busy month. I will say for my own Ombuds report, the top items that I'm communicating with the public on continue to be inquiries about interests in the updated on the flock contract and automatic license plate readers, as well as just inquiries about what is the city doing and what can the city do and what will the city do in response to ICE. So Councilmember Forsyth and I continue to work on the resolution and hope to have it back in front of the council very shortly. Additionally, the city did sign in, I mentioned this before, but did sign in pro on legislation that would require federal officers to not have their faces covered and to wear identification when they're in our city. And we will soon be hearing the report on the impact that the rapid response dollars made for the organizations that we sent dollars to immediately to make sure that our communities most impacted by these enforcement actions were able to have the legal services and translation services and housing stability that was needed at this time. So more to come on all of that. I will just share a couple of updates for the council. We've spent so much time together the last month, but just to make sure, a few things are on all of our radar, plus for the public. Retreat Part 2 has been scheduled for February the 19th. Council Vice President Nueva Camina and I will be working on the plans for that soon. The next council conversations, these are our informal conversations all around town, are going to be on March 19th at Redmond Middle School. The hours for this are a bit later than we are used to, and that is a feature of being in a school that is very busy. So March 19th, Redmond Middle School, starting at 7 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. So 7 to 8:30, we'll officially notice from 7 to 9, but a little bit later. Council is also reviewing a date in May, and so council, please do let us know if you have ideas for where we should go in May. Also, for the listening public, we have a lot of openings on our boards and commissions at the moment. I want to acknowledge an opening on the Human Services Commission, 3 upcoming openings on our Parks, Trails, and Recreation Commission, 3 openings coming up on that one, as well as Arts and Culture, because we kind of stole one. So Councilmember Soni is no longer serving on the Arts and Culture Commission, so we have an opening there as well. Check out the city website if you're interested in more. Earlier tonight, our council subcommittees were mentioned. I'd like to invite the council. We have openings on our 2 standing subcommittees. The first is tenant protections. Can I just have you raise your hand if you're on that subcommittee? Okay, so the tenant protection subcommittee is council members Kritzer and Forsyth, and the alternative crisis response subcommittee is council members Forsyth and Council Vice President Nueva Camina. If you are interested in joining either of these committees, please do so in writing to council leadership, and perhaps at our council talk time next week, we can get going on helping make some additional assignments. They're not listening to me anymore because they're furiously typing, which is really wonderful. I appreciate everyone jumping in. And we will be reporting out about the council retreat at our study session next week. Okay, moving on, let's go to committee reports. Are there any committee reports? Councilmember Forsyth.
Thank you. Earlier tonight, we had our 2PW Planning and Public Works committee meeting, and I appreciate everyone for coming prepared and having a very productive meeting. We covered a lot, so I will let folks seek that information out if they would like to see, but we have a lot of items coming forward for consent next February 17th. Additionally, I attended in my co-chair role the East Trail committee meeting, RAC meeting, where we talked about the work plan, the work ahead. In Redmond here, we're in a really good position because our major portion of the work is done. So now we are in a supportive role for the rest of the region in that work. But just a heads up for council, there will be a new MOU coming our way, and there's some tricky bits to it. We have an entity that is voluntarily removing itself from the RAC. So you will see that, and then there will also be another funding opportunity that we will have to approve as well. Just standard operating stuff, but just a heads up. And then I was going to mention the Housing Development Consortium panel that I was lucky enough to be a panelist on. And then it was awesome to see so many of our council members in the audience for that. I felt very supported. And it was a great conversation with Redmond, Bellevue, Seattle, and PSRC in attendance. Or was it SCA? Getting confused. Anyway, it was a great conversation, lots of work to be done in the housing space, and I would say there were probably about 150 people in the room, so very well attended, and thank you to the HDC for hosting that event.
Thank you. Are there other committee reports? Councilmember Soni.
So we had our Parks and Environment Sustainability Committee. It went pretty well, and I can definitely see that we were able to put up a work plan for 2026, which is in our consent agenda. There was also discussion on the public arts plan, which is coming back for another study session, and we'll be discussing more on that. And then also see another consent agenda for the approval for the final contract with Abstract Construction Company and acceptance of construction for Redmond Senior and Community Center project. That's the final contract that will be approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kritzer.
I'll just note I've been serving on the State Legislative Subcommittee for the RIA-8 Salmon Recovery Council, and tomorrow we're all heading to Olympia with salmon advocates from all across the state for Salmon Day in Olympia. So I'll report back on how that goes. I think I have 9 meetings scheduled with other salmon advocates, so it should be really awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there other committee reports? Okay. With that, we have reached the conclusion of our meeting agenda tonight. If there's no objection, hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great